A middle-aged man named Kang Min-ho is arrested for public drunkenness on the night of his daughter's birthday. After his friend Tae-jun comes to bail him out, Min-ho calls his daughter and promises he's on his way home. Before he can make it back, he suddenly vanishes, leaving behind the gift he bought for her. Min-ho wakes up trapped inside a sealed room that resembles a cheap hotel. There are no windows, no explanations, and no clue who put him there. Food is pushed in through a small slot, and at random times, gas fills the room, knocking him unconscious while unseen people enter to cut his hair, change his clothes, and clean the space. His only connection to the outside world is a television. One day, he learns that his wife, Lee Sun-hee, has been murdered, and he is the prime suspect. His fingerprints and blood were found at the scene. As the years drag on, isolation begins to break his mind. He suffers hallucinations and repeatedly attempts suicide, but each time, his captors revive him. Refusing to completely lose himself, Min-ho starts writing a journal, listing anyone who might hold a grudge against him. He also trains his body relentlessly, preparing for the day he might face whoever did this. Over the years, he secretly digs into the wall using a metal utensil, slowly carving a path toward escape. Eventually, he feels rain through the opening, proof that freedom is close. But before he can finish, he is gassed again. While unconscious, a mysterious woman enters and hypnotizes him. After 15 years, Min-ho is suddenly released. He wakes up inside a suitcase on a rooftop, dressed in an expensive suit with a watch. His journals are returned to him, as if his captor wants him to remember everything. As he struggles to adjust, he encounters a man on the edge of the building, holding a small dog and preparing to jump. Desperate for human contact, Min-ho grabs him and presses his face against the man's hand. The man questions whether someone like him even deserves to live. Min-ho repeats the question back with a strange calmness. Just as the man falls backward, Min-ho grabs his tie and tells him to listen to his story first. After recounting everything, Min-ho walks away without waiting for a response. Moments later, the man falls to his death. Now free, Min-ho wanders the city, carefully avoiding anyone who might recognize him, knowing he's still wanted for his wife's murder. When confronted by a group of street thugs, he tests his training and defeats them with brutal efficiency. Later, while sitting outside a seafood restaurant, a homeless man approaches him and hands him a phone and a wallet filled with cash, warning him not to ask questions. Min-ho enters a sushi bar and demands something alive to eat. The server, a young woman named Era, recognizes him from a cooking show she once appeared on. As he prepares to eat, the phone rings. A mysterious voice mocks him, asking if he likes his new life. Min-ho demands answers, but the caller simply tells him to look into his past if he wants the truth, and hangs up. Moments later, Min-ho consumes the live meal and collapses. He wakes up in Era's apartment, recovering from a fever. She explains she treated him. As he regains strength, tension builds between them. Despite a warning, he crosses a line, but Era defends herself and stops him. Before he leaves, she introduces herself properly and sets a boundary, making it clear things will happen only on her terms. Min-ho decides to search for his long-lost daughter, and Era agrees to help. They discover she was adopted by a foreign family, and Min-ho ultimately chooses not to disrupt her life. Instead, he becomes obsessed with finding the person responsible for his imprisonment. Soon, Era receives strange online messages from someone using the alias Greenleaf. The messages reference literature about revenge and imprisonment, clearly directed at Min-ho. Suspicious, Min-ho distances himself and begins investigating alone. He tracks down the source of the food he was given during captivity and follows a delivery worker to a hidden facility. There, he discovers a private prison run by criminals who lock people away for money. Armed with a hammer, Min-ho fights his way through the building and confronts the manager. In a brutal interrogation, he forces information out of him and learns that everything was arranged through anonymous calls. But the conversations were recorded. Taking the evidence, Min-ho attempts to leave, only to be ambushed by multiple guards. Despite being outnumbered and stabbed, he fights his way out and escapes. Bleeding and barely conscious, he collapses outside, where a stranger helps him into a taxi. As the car drives off, the stranger calmly reveals that he is the one behind everything. Back at safety, Min-ho listens to the recordings. He hears discussions about how long to keep him imprisoned and what drugs to use if he lost his sanity. When asked what Min-ho did to deserve this, the client gives a chilling answer. He talked too much. Determined to identify the voice, Min-ho visits Tae-jun, who helps trace the online identity of Greenleaf. Eventually, they uncover the man's real identity, Seo Jin-woo, a wealthy and powerful figure living nearby. When Minho confronts him, Jinwoo reveals a twisted game. Minho has 5 days to uncover the true reason behind his imprisonment. If he succeeds, Jinwoo promises to take his own life. If he fails, Era will die. Minho tries to attack him, but Jinwoo's bodyguard easily stops him. The game has begun, and the truth is far darker than Minho ever imagined. Jinwoo calmly warns Minho that killing him would only bury the truth forever. He reveals a safeguard, a pacemaker wired to stop his heart instantly if Minho tries to torture him. As he turns to leave, Jinwoo pushes Minho further, telling him that revenge might be the only way to cope with losing everything. Then he drops a chilling reminder. Era is alone, tied up, and in danger. Minho sprints back after hearing her scream. When he bursts into the apartment, he finds Park and his men attacking Era. He fights back, but they overpower him. Park prepares to smash his teeth out with a hammer, until a phone call interrupts. Moments later, Han arrives with a briefcase full of cash. After a quick glance, Park takes the deal and orders his men to stand down. As they leave, Minho glares at him and swears he'll take his hand next time. Minho and Era escape immediately. At a nearby motel, the tension between them shifts. Era softly signals that she's ready to be closer to him. Quick pause. If you're enjoying this intense story, drop a like and hit subscribe so you don't miss what happens next, because it only gets darker from here. Later that night, gas fills the room again. When they wake up, they find a package left behind. Inside is Park's severed hand. Minho instantly realizes they're being watched. He rushes to track down the hidden device and destroys it. But the message is clear. Jinwoo is always one step ahead. Determined to uncover the truth, Minho and Era visit Taejun's internet cafe. While digging through records, they notice something chilling. Greenleaf wasn't random. It was the name of their old high school class. They rush to the school archives and find the name tied to Jinwoo's past. A forgotten classmate. Minho calls Taejun, asking about an old student named Yoon. Taejun vaguely remembers her. She died years ago after Minho transferred. He casually mentions rumors about her behavior. But he doesn't realize Jinwoo is already inside the cafe. Hearing those words, Jinwoo snaps. He kills Taejun without hesitation and reveals the truth. Yoon was his sister. Minho begins retracing everything. He finds Park again, who now willingly talks after losing his hand. He admits they drugged Minho for years, making him easier to control through hypnosis. Another former classmate confirms it. Taejun was the one who spread rumors. And suddenly, Minho remembers. He once saw something he shouldn't have, Jinwoo and his sister in a secret relationship. Without thinking, he told Taejun. That single moment destroyed everything. Following the final clues, Minho confronts Jinwoo at his penthouse. He accuses him of manipulating his memory, but Jinwoo dismisses it. The truth, he says, was simply forgotten because it didn't matter enough until it ruined lives. Jinwoo reveals how the rumors spiraled out of control, pushing his sister into despair. Then he unveils the final piece of his revenge. Photos. Minho flips through them, slowly realizing the horrifying truth. His daughter grew up to become Era. The room goes silent. Minho loses control and attacks, but Han intervenes. Even injured, Han manages to subdue him. Jinwoo, growing bored, suddenly kills his own bodyguard without hesitation. He then reminds Minho this was all carefully planned. Every meeting, every moment, even Era. Back at Park's place, Era is handed a sealed box. Minho calls her, begging her not to open it. Desperate, broken, he kneels before Jinwoo, barking like a dog, humiliating himself just to protect Era from the truth. When that isn't enough, he takes it further. In a shocking act of desperation, Minho sacrifices himself to keep the secret buried. Finally satisfied, Jinwoo calls off the reveal and walks away, leaving Minho with what he claims is the pacemaker remote. But when Minho presses it, it only plays a recording of him and Era together. Jinwoo steps into the elevator remembering his sister's final moments. As the doors open, he ends his own life, his revenge complete. If this twist caught you off guard, comment revenge right now, and don't forget to subscribe, because endings like this are rare. Sometime later, Minho isolates himself in the countryside. Haunted by the truth, he writes to a hypnotist, begging for help to erase his memories. Moved by his words, she agrees, but warns him of the risk. She explains that his mind will split in two. One part will live in ignorance, while the other carries the burden as a hidden monster. Minho accepts. The process begins. Later, he wakes up alone in the snow. Era finds him and holds him close, telling him she loves him. Minho smiles. But it doesn't last. Because somewhere deep inside, he remembers, and that quiet smile slowly fades into something far more painful.